Dave Bowyer on Lasar Radio.
Hello and welcome back to the Morning Mayhem Show with me, Dave Bowyer, here at Lasar Radio. Now, I promised at the start of the show that I got a guest on. Well, the wait is finally over. Good morning and welcome to PA and biographer for Freddie Mercury, as well as tireless AIDS awareness campaigner, charity worker, Mr. Peter Freestone. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm actually quite good.
Good. I'm going to have to make everybody aware of this. You're actually based in, you reside in Prague, in the Czech Republic.
In Czech Republic, yeah.
Yeah.
It's freezing here.
It's freezing. Is it really?
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. I had a look at the weather report in Prague this morning. That's how sad I am. And it said that it was going to be quite nice in Prague today.
Oh, it will be, but it got down to about 1 degree.
Did it really?
Night. Yeah.
Oh, it's a lot cooler in the UK now, put it that way. I mean, after the fantastic summer we've had, it's gone a little bit bitter in the morning.
Yeah, it's just the way it changes. I mean, 2 weeks ago, we were nearly 40 degrees.
Was it?
And then it's just this week, it's just shut down.
Well, I need to say thank you. Yeah. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to chat with me today. But let's go back to the beginning. So, as a child, you attended a boarding school in southern India. Why was you sent to a school abroad?
Oh, well, I mean, the whole family was abroad. My parents were running a hotel in Calcutta.
Oh, right,
and
okay.
I couldn't go to school there because it was too hot. Okay. It's that simple. I mean, we arrived in, I think, late July, August. And at that point, if I leant against a wall, the skin would come up in a big heat blister.
Really?
So, I mean, it was traditional anyway for children to go to school in better climates. And so I went to school in Uttarakhand in the Nilgiri Hills, which was 7,000 feet above sea level. So it was actually, even though it was sort of fairly near the equator, it was actually really pleasant. It was beautiful.
I can imagine. So, I mean, after finishing your education then, in 1973, you worked for Selfridges in London as an assisting catering manager. Well, I mean, that's quite a prestigious job for such a young man.
Thing is, what happened, I was doing a weekend job anyway in Selfridges. And when I finished school, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. I mean, I still don't, but that's beside the point. And so I carried on and I became full-time in Selfridges. Okay. They then created the catering management training course around me. It didn't exist before I got there. And it was a 3-year course. You worked and you went 1 day a week to college. And so they put me on this course, but before it had even finished, a position came up and they made me assistant manager. I was 19 at the time. And at that point, I was the youngest assistant manager that Selfridges had ever had.
Well, you must have been doing something right.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't last much longer because I got bored. I get bored very quickly.
Well, I can tell. I mean, looking at your sort of life and the things that you've gone through, and it's quite a varied amount of jobs. Because I mean, if we go to the next position you worked in, you worked for the Royal Opera House on a part-time basis in wardrobe until I think it was 1977. But then that became a full-time position. I mean, how did you make the transition from catering to the colourful world of entertainment?
The thing is, catering, I mean, Selfridges, it was an amazing place. You have to remember, at those days, it was a department store.
Yes.
That was, owned by one person, Sir Charles Claw. There were 5,000 people who worked in that building.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And it was great. I mean, you made friends on all the floors. It took, it was wonderful. But the thing is, it was open 9 o'clock in the morning till 5:30 every day. I mean, the working system was actually very good because it was Monday to Friday one week, Tuesday to Saturday the next week.
Yeah.
So you had a long weekend every other weekend.
Oh, that's okay then.
But the thing is, I was bored in the evenings. And someone I knew from Selfridges also worked at the Royal Opera House dressing for the opera. And they said, well, why don't you come and do this? This is interesting. It's fun. You get paid. You listen to music. So I did that. I started working. I fell in love with opera on exactly the same day. It was April the 22nd, 1975.
All right.
That was my first night working at the Royal Opera House.
Bet that was an experience.
Oh, well, I mean, I just fell in love with the music. Well, I mean, I love classical music anyway, but then I specifically went for opera because, and I know exactly all the details. It was Il Trovatore by Verdi.
Good memory.
Anton Guadagno. The cast was Montserrat Caballé,
Yes.
Carlo Cosuta, Cheryl Milnes, and Irina Akipova.
So, sorry, just to interrupt you there, Peter. So Montserrat, she was actually around in the 70s as well. Is that when she sort of...
started in the late 50s.
Really? Oh, right, okay. I didn't realise that. I mean, would that make her? So I'm guessing now she's in her 80s. Is that? Would I be right?
She's 85 now.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't. To be honest, I didn't think she was that old. To be honest with you, I thought she was slightly younger than that.
I mean, she never. Her character and everything. She never felt old. She never. I mean, never did. But so anyway, so I started work at the Opera House, and in the end, that became more interesting to me than the catering.
I can understand that.
So the thing is, in the end, I then moved over to work full-time for the Royal Ballet. And so the week I was supposed to be taking my exams in catering to get the FHCIMA letters after my name, I was on tour with the Royal Ballet in Chicago.
Right. Okay. Oh, right.
So, you know.
Okay. Well, in 1979, your world changed ever so slightly after meeting Freddie Mercury for the first time. Am I right thinking Fred was invited to the Royal Opera House by the Royal Ballet Group?
Well, yeah. Basically, the Royal Ballet were putting on a big charity show at the London Coliseum. And it just coincidentally, one of the governors of the Royal Ballet was Sir Joseph Lockwood, who also happened to be the managing director of EMI, with whom Queen had their exclusive contract.
I see.
So
right.
the dancers from the Royal Ballet asked Sir Joe if he would ask Freddie if he would perform with them. Because, you know, even up at that point, up until this was in 1979, Freddie had always sort of prided himself on his sort of balletic movements and things.
Yeah.
So he just, when he was asked, he jumped at it.
Yeah. I've been told, well, I say I've been told, I've seen it in a few documentaries and that as well. I think they were slightly surprised by the fact that really he couldn't dance, could he, in complete honesty?
No, not at all. I mean, he thought he could until he rehearsed with the Royal Ballet, and then he found he had two left feet.
Yeah, just like me.
Also, it's something that carried on right till the end of his performing career. He could not follow choreography.
So everything that he did was impromptu then?
Everything. If, you know, right up until 1986, if you saw any Queen shows, if you went to two in a row,
It would
you
be
would
different.
never see him doing the same thing twice.
Well, okay, so as of 1980 then, so 12 months later, you actually became Freddie's PA on a permanent basis. Was you a fan of Freddie's work? You know, I mean, prior to knowing or meeting Freddie.
Well, up until 1979, I had heard and I knew was Queen, Seven Seas of Rye,
Yeah.
Sheer Heart Attack.
The album or the single?
The single. I don't know why, but
Okay.
that's stuck in my brain. Killer Queen and Bohemian Rhapsody.
Right. I thought Bohemian Rhapsody would be familiar to you anyway. I mean, it was familiar to everybody, I think.
Well, to everybody in the country.
Yeah, in the world, I think, to be honest with you.
Yeah. But that was my knowledge of Queen. I went to my first rehearsal in 1979. They played 22 songs, and I knew every single one of them. I just didn't know that they were by Queen.
Oh, right, okay. I think that happens with...
You could not be a fan. This is the thing. To do that job, you could not be a fan. Because you would just spend your life hanging around with your mouth open.
Yeah, I understand that. I know what you're saying.
I became a real fan of Queen music in 1996.
Really? I mean, 5 years after Freddie had passed?
Yeah, because I didn't even want to hear the music because it reminded me that he wasn't around.
Okay, yeah. I can understand what you're saying with that, yeah. Because, I mean, obviously, I mean, in terms... I mean, because you were with him for was it 10, 11 years or 12 years?
12 years.
So, I mean, once he'd passed, I mean, the grieving process, I mean, it's different for different people, I suppose. But, I mean, so it took you over 5 years to start to sort of think, right, well, I can listen to his music again.
Yeah, and it only happened because what ended up as the book... I mean, started off as therapy.
Yes.
Because that was the thing in the early 90s. Therapy worked wonders. Therapy cured everything. Mm-hmm. And I just thought to myself, why would I, if I was in my right mind, go to someone who didn't know me, didn't have a clue about what I would be talking about,
mm-hmm.
and then demand a lot of money at the end of it.
Yes.
So in the end, I spoke to someone who knew Freddie, who never asked me one question. He just let me talk and talk and talk. Mm. And that was David Evans. Because he knew Freddie from the early days, from 1975, 74, 75. And I just talked and talked and talked. There was no set script. There was nothing. It was just me getting everything out of me. Mm-hmm. And then basically what he did, he'd written down everything I said, he put into his word processor. Mm-hmm. And he would give me, every time we finished maybe 3-4 hours of talking, he would give me what I had said so that I was able to get everything out of me. And it sort of went through the laundry, and I could read it all and put it back inside me.
It was like a memoir then? It was sort of memoirs?
Yes, yeah.
Well, okay, so PA for a rock star then. I know this is a bit of a silly question, but what does that entail? I mean, for somebody of Freddie's stature as well.
Well, the thing is, normally a PA will do Monday to Friday, 9 to 6. For Freddie, it was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Oh, dearie me.
In 12 years, I had 2 weeks holiday.
Wow, seriously?
Yeah.
You must have loved... I mean, to be honest though, Peter, you must have loved spending time with Freddie. You must have enjoyed doing it. I mean, that doesn't excuse 2 weeks off in 12 years, though.
Yeah, that just happened actually in 1991. No, you see, the thing is, the PA is really just a generic term to cover living Freddie's life with him.
Yeah.
I answered the telephones, I answered the door, I did some cooking, I did some shopping, whether it was in a supermarket or an auction house. I made sure he had what clothes he wanted when he wanted them. arranged transport. Make sure he got where he had to be when he had to be there. It was making his life easy so that he could concentrate on the hard work of actually making music.
Yeah.
Whether creating it or performing it.
So seeing him on a daily basis then, what was he actually like as a person? I mean, from the interviews and things that you see on TV, he came across quite shy. I mean, obviously when he's performing on stage, it's like a persona, which I know that he said a lot, but in terms of interviews, he came across quite shy. Is that what he was like in real life?
Yes, very much so. I mean, he could not walk into a room of 10 people that he didn't know on his own. Okay. That just would not have been possible.
It's amazing, really, that is, when you think about it.
But the thing is, if he walked in... you always hear about Freddie Mercury and his entourage.
Yes.
Basically, it was just friends, so that he felt secure. Not secure as in needing security, but that he had someone who knew him and who he could talk to.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if he walked into this room with 10 strangers, with a couple of people he knew, he would be introduced to everybody and he would be the life and soul of the party. But you have to always think that the first thing that went through his brain, the very first thing, any time he was introduced to someone, was, who do they want to talk to? Freddie Mercury, the star, or me?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can understand that. I suppose. I mean, you've got to be your normal self. I mean, like you say, that there's a difference between the Freddie on stage and Freddie in person, and I suppose he's sort of saying to him, well, do you want to speak to me or do you want to speak to the wild, lavish person that runs around on stage? And
the thing is, both personas, both were real.
Yeah.
They were real Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
They just were basically, I suppose, the two extremes of this person. One thing that sort of upsets me is when people say, they ask the question, what was life like? What did you do? What was it? And so I spend the time talking to them, giving them the answer. Mm-hmm. And then they reply with, well, that wasn't a real life. That's not real. That's not real life.
Yeah.
But it was.
Yeah.
It's just a different life. But it's just as real and just as valid as anybody's life. Everybody's life has a meaning.
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, absolutely.
It's just that some are different to others.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry to sort of move forward onto this, but I mean, sadly, we lost the great man in 1991. I mean, were you present in his final moments?
Yes, I was there.
Obviously, I don't want to go too deeply into that. I'll tell you what, let's lighten this up a bit. What is your fondest memory of Freddie?
There is not any one specific, but the Freddie that always springs to mind is Freddie at home with his head thrown back, laughing. Well, you see it sometimes in interviews, but as soon as he starts laughing, he brings his top lip down to cover his teeth, or his hand goes up to cover his mouth. Because he hated his teeth.
Yeah.
He would not do anything about it because he was scared it would change the resonance chambers. But he hated the teeth. But when he was at home, he was with friends. He didn't care.
Yeah.
And so he just threw his head back and laughed. He loved humor. He had a very British, dry sense of humor.
Yeah, you could see that in his interviews.
Rather than laughing at jokes,
yeah,
he would find something funny in almost any situation.
I mean, I know what you're saying. Just to briefly go back to, I mean, you were on about, he was conscious of his teeth. I mean, you could clearly see in any interview, or if somebody was speaking to him, he'd regularly do that thing with his lip where he'd try to cover him.
Yeah.
But like you say, if they weren't there, and I don't mean this in a derogatory sense at all, but if they weren't there, it wouldn't be him. I've got to be honest with you. That's my feelings on it.
Of course, after all these years, the 20 years of him with Queen and the 27 since, that has become part of him.
Yeah, of course.
That's as you said, if you separate, if you gave him good teeth, it would not be him.
No. Can I ask as well? I mean, I know that we've sort of spoke prior to this over email, and I know that the Bohemian Rhapsody biopic is coming out soon, and I know you can't really say too much about the film, but have you seen it, and did you enjoy it?
I haven't seen it, but I was there for 85% of the filming.
Right, okay. Well, fair enough then.
What can I say? It was an incredible experience. I was in London last year for 5 months.
Right.
Going round the various departments in pre-production, into the production department, into props, into costumes, into wigs and makeup, into everything. I was there every day for them to ask questions so that they could get things exactly right.
Yes.
They wanted to know exactly what sort of teacup and saucer Freddie used. They wanted to know the colours that were used in different rooms in Garden Lodge. They wanted to know what was in his shoulder bag. The detail, the real detail is amazing. The set that was used the very first day was the Live Aid set.
So that was the very first filming, was it? The first shoot?
Yeah. And that was an exact replica, even to the sort of off-stage bits at the side. There was a settee.
Right.
In a set up in the wings, and that was there. They even had the people who were doing the filming and everything, the film crew, were wearing exactly the same costumes.
Wow.
The detail in this film is absolutely incredible. You must remember, it is not a documentary.
No.
This is not a documentary. This is a film. To put 40 years of someone's life into 2 hours, you have to take some sort of license.
Yes.
So there's enough fact in there, and I mean there are many, many factual events that Queen fans will recognise the event. They might not recognise where it takes place because of the concertinaing of the timeline, things have to move around a bit. But there are so many real facts that Queen fans will immediately notice.
Yeah.
But that it's still a film that can be enjoyed by the millions of people around the world who every week, one night a week, they go to the cinema. They don't know what they're going to see until they see what's on at the cinema. Yeah. If you get the chance to see this film, you have to go and see it, because there are so many amazing things in it. It's wonderful.
Well, I can't deny, I've seen both trailers, and the second trailer I've watched, I'm not even exaggerating, you're probably talking 30, 40 times, just trying to pick little bits of it. And I watch reviews on things like YouTube as well to see what people trying to break down the trailer and stuff. But, I mean, I personally can't wait, and my dad can't either. I'm going to give my dad a bit of a shout-out, Peter, because my dad's name's Anthony, Tony Bowyer, and he's a huge... I mean, he's the reason why I love Queen so much.
There's something I'm getting used to is everybody I talk to, it's always their parents. who loves Queen.
Well, you see, Peter, I'm 35. I mean, my dad's...
You're a child.
Exactly.
You're young.
I don't know about that, but I mean, my dad's 63, and he is... I mean, he saw Freddie's last concert at Nebworth in 86. I mean, I've seen Queen twice. I just thought I'd drop that in there. I've seen him with Paul Rodgers and Adam Lambert, and they were both fantastic, to be fair. But, you know, in my mind, I've always sort of...
They're very different.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
very.
It's three very different Queens.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
Freddie,
Absolutely.
Paul, Adam.
I mean, Adam Lambert's actually come out in the press this morning. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to drop this on you a little bit, but he says, regarding the film, he's just said, I can totally identify the pressure that Rami Malek feels playing Freddie Mercury, but he's basically said that he was impressed. So, I mean, what's coming out of the media at the moment is good things about the film, and hopefully it is a success. And like I say, from what we can hear, the sort of whispers that are going on in the world of entertainment, it's going to be good.
I really do think it will be. There's been so much love and so much effort put in by real professionals. The casting was absolutely spot on.
Yes.
Obviously, if Freddie was alive, he would have been perfect. But the whole point is that Freddie left us 27 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like anybody in this world, each of us are unique. So you will not have exactly Freddie, but Rami has recreated the character so that you can actually believe that Freddie is up there.
Yeah, absolutely. And
you know, the thing is, it's very difficult for anybody, and any one of us, to go by a 1 minute 30 trailer.
Yeah.
You know, you cannot put everything into that. Otherwise, it's a waste of time making 2.5 hour film.
Yeah, it's just it's a giant spoiler then, isn't it, really?
Yes. So, you know, I think everybody should go with an open mind. I mean, even real Queen fans, just open your minds a little bit. You will see plenty in there that you know to be fact.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the reason I was there, just to make it as real as possible.
If you don't mind me saying this, Peter, the only, and this is not a criticism, by the way, the only thing I noticed, there was a scene on the trailer. I know I keep saying this. We can't really talk too much about it, but there was a scene in the trailer where I noticed they were discussing the "We Will Rock You," the sort of how we Will Rock You became "We Will Rock You." And I noticed that Freddie had got a moustache, and I thought, timeline, that's not right.
Because that scene, you have to also accept, is taken out of context. In that, you don't see the full storyline.
Okay, right, I understand what you're saying. Okay.
Remember what I said earlier about having to concertina time?
Yes, I know what you're saying. You've got to fit everything in within the 2 hours of, you know, if you're trying to break down Freddie's career and life. Yeah. Oh, well, okay, fair enough. I just thought I'd drop that in there. I was going to ask you that anyway.
No. I mean, when I saw it, I thought, okay, because that happened in the 15% that I didn't watch in film. But as I say, when you see that scene in context with the film, then it will make more sense.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll move away from the movie now, and we'll go into, you know, the sort of work that you're doing currently. So in the last few years, you've dedicated a lot of time working on the TFA project, and this is in relation to the awareness of HIV/AIDS for 13 to 18-year-olds, and I'd imagine it's quite rewarding and something that's close to your heart.
Very much so. This was created about 5 years ago.
Okay.
Let me think. Five. Well, the original idea came up 6 years ago, when a young Czech schoolboy, he was still at school at the time, came to me and asked, couldn't we do something to make school kids aware of HIV/AIDS because it just isn't being spoken about. It wasn't being spoken about. And it isn't anymore because now with the drugs and everything available for HIV, to combat HIV, if you catch it in time, it doesn't kill you quite so soon. Mm-hmm. But in the end, it still will kill you.
Yeah. And
you have to catch it in time. So he actually created the TFA project. His name was Milan Shatnik. He put together the idea of Titanic Freddie AIDS, TFA. How the biggest, the best, the most luxurious, unsinkable ship was destroyed by something you only see a little bit in the water.
Yeah.
And the huge mass underneath you do not see.
Yeah.
And how Freddie, the most brilliant, amazing performer in the world, was destroyed by something that you cannot see with your eyes.
Yeah.
And we put together this sort of 45-minute sort of seminar for schools, specifically for schools. And so far, we've spoken to, I don't know, maybe about 8,000 children. At the end of it, there's a sort of question and answer session. And, when you think of the age of these people, and they are people, they're not kids, it's amazing what they do understand. It's amazing how many of them know Freddie.
Well, I'm not that amazed by that. I can understand that.
Well, yeah, of course, because their grandparents used to listen to Queen.
Yeah.
But the fact that we are getting asked back every sort of 2 years to so many of the same schools, because, of course, they've got new people in there.
Yeah.
So, it's going. We've done it in Czech. We've done it in Holland. I've done it in the UK once. I've done it in America. And the thing is, it's still valid because, of course, everybody in school knows about the Titanic, even now, though that happened so many years ago. And everybody knows about Freddie. Mm-hmm. And so they can actually relate to the combination.
Yeah. So, in terms of, what have you got planned?
This we do in conjunction with the Mercury Phoenix Trust, which was set up after Freddie died, of course.
Yeah,
to make people aware.
Yeah, well, it's obviously it is a fantastic cause, and like you say, I know that HIV and AIDS now, it's not it's not seen as the killer that it once was, but that doesn't mean that it's not there, and
and it still kills.
Yeah, of course, exactly, and I think because treatment is improved, and obviously now it expands the longevity of people's lives. Which is a good thing, but people still need to be made aware of it, and obviously the work that you're doing over in Prague, and getting it out there to the kids and schools and that, it's fantastic. It really is.
Yeah, the thing is, also, parents are parents. You will never, ever believe anything wrong of your child.
Yeah.
So no parent really wants to believe that their child is discovering sex.
Yeah.
That's something that doesn't happen in a parent's mind. But
no.
Believe me, 13-year-olds know more now than I knew when I was 13.
I'm not going to comment, but yeah, I agree with you. I completely, I know what you're saying, but yeah, of course that they're aware. Times have changed. I think that, and I think children today. I say children. From the age of 13, you're a young adult, I suppose, up until 18.
Yeah.
At that sort of age now, a lot of things compared to when I was a kid, and like you said, when you was a child as well.
Yeah, no, and this is the thing is the way we look at it. Along with Mercury Phoenix Trust, the Mercury Phoenix Trust is there to make people aware.
Yeah.
They make, the charity gets money from all over the world, from Freddie for a Day, for all of these sort of things.
Yeah.
They leave the drug research to the people that can afford it, the governments, the drug companies. And they spend all their money on going to people everywhere who cannot afford drugs and things to make them aware that this can happen. And this will happen if you're not careful.
Of course. Well, all I'm going to say to you is, Pete, because I think we're going to have to sort of wrap this up a little bit. I mean, I could speak to you all day. I'm not going to deny it. But
but I don't want your listeners to get bored.
No. I'm sure they're not. Trust me. I'm just going to have to say it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today, Peter. And on a personal level, it's been a bit of a dream for me, this, as I'm not going to deny. I'm not going to go all Gwyneth Paltrow. I'm not going to go all emotional, but it's been absolutely fantastic. And Peter, I just want to say thank you again. So thank you.
No, you're very, very welcome. I've had fun. I've enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Good. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to let you go, but we're going to finish now with a little bit of Queen, and this is Play the Game, folks.
L, leak, A, and S, surrounding, A, area, R, radio, Laser Radio, your online radio station.